have never supported protests because I have made clear that the Nigerian state is deaf, it does not hear, and that when you go out on protest, you are actually being reactionary, and that the only thing you can do is to change the game on the Nigerian system. And then a man like Peter Obi comes out, a member of the same class that has held Nigeria bound for all these years. In one way or the other, he became a member of that class, whether he was a saint in hell or whatever he was. He became the governor of the state. He battled the House of Assembly to a standstill. He brought value to governance, and that was the publicly accepted position until all these shenanigans because of elections began and all the propaganda began, and you start attributing all sorts of things to him. So if I'm going to have to come through the electoral system to gain the changes that I desire, and I find a candidate in the race whose position regarding restructuring mirrors mine, because I had interactions with him personally on behalf of Afenifere and on behalf of the Southern and Middle Belt Leaders Forum, I sat down and I was convinced as to the honesty of his desire to change the Nigerian state, restructure it, and I bought into that. And on the basis of that, and the fact that he is not only eminently qualified, but he meets the demand of justice and equity in the moment, being of Southeastern origin, and given the fact that Nigeria is not found on citizenship, regardless of the madness and stupidity of those who consider themselves revolutionaries, who believe that Nigeria is founded on citizenship. Nigeria is not founded on citizenship. It is founded on ethnicity. If the one thing that will galvanize popular action in Nigeria are the pains and grievances of an ethnic group who have been systematically marginalized, and in whose marginalization legitimacy has been found for the marginalization of every other Nigerian, regardless of their ethnicity. If I find one such Nigerian who has equally made a difference in governance in Nigeria, shame on the idiots who cannot see it and who seek to attack me and think that I have in some ways contradicted my position, because I have not. I am on record. If I was talking in beer parlors, they can challenge my position. I did not speak in beer parlors. I wrote books, and my books stand there in testament of my position. I have never advocated armed resistance. I have never advocated protest on the street. I have always maintained that the only way to change Nigeria is through the electoral route. I'm a Democrat above all things. Those who do not have any democratic credentials but wish to dictate my conscience to me should learn to be careful about seeking to do so. I might be mistaken, but I am a man led by my convictions, not by greed, not by money. I gave up more than anyone can give me, regardless of what happens in the election. Let's be clear about that. So that's my position. I have not contradicted myself in any way, shape, or form.
Thank you. I will have asked you to tell me.
Of course, I have endured all kinds of idiots attacking me because they believe they have a monopoly for the definition of what constitutes a revolution and what does not. And I've had enough of it. It's getting under my skin. So it's time we actually dealt with this once and for all.
All right. Thank you so much. Now, how has the campaign been going? Since you joined, how do you assess the campaign?
Put it this way: I'm not a politician. I'm not about, unless I am specifically required to do certain things on behalf of the campaign, I have pretty much stuck with my own everyday routine. I'm not a politician. I have said years ago that the only weapon by which you might be able to slay the Nigerian monster is by the employment of the truth as a weapon. The truth is both a shield and a sword. And it is all I have ever deployed in my war against the Nigerian state, because this is an unjust state. But I do not war against the Nigerian people. I war against the state that has made sure that all of us are not citizens. So nothing has really changed about my daily routine. I'm a retired lawyer, full-time troublemaker. I take my time I engage wherever the field of engagement presents itself. I have not changed in any way. My routine remains exactly the same on a day-to-day basis. I just do my own thing and I let other people do their thing. You engage with me, I engage with you. This is us, the Nigerian people, the ones who have been deprived of citizenship, looking for somebody behind whom we can rally to get a foot in the door. I don't believe that Peter Obi will solve the problems of Nigeria, but it will be a start. For a Peter Obi to win, it becomes easy for a Yele Sowore to win in 2027. It becomes easy for a Dele Farotimi to raise his hand in 2027 because the Nigerian people would have found their voices and their powers in the legitimate process that is completely legal. So when Peter Obi says Nigeria is like a vehicle with a knocked engine, he was completely correct. But there is absolutely nothing contradictory in him seeking to employ the instrumentality of the system because you have to play the hand you are dealt. You can sit down and argue against your reality from now till kingdom comes, or you can engage with your reality in a quest to affect it so that it becomes what you'd prefer. So it's always a choice in your own hands, but you cannot bemoan your reality in the expectation that anything would change until you have done something to affect it. Nothing will change. So the man deciding to run, I don't believe it is contradictory because the same man has said clearly that every one of the things he has said, because I think he's been a little short on details as to how he wants to go about the restructuring. But if you listen to the things he has said as he outlines his plans for Nigeria, you will see clearly that what he has set out to do are incompatible with the existing system. The existing system would have to be tweaked before any of the programs he has. You say you want to move Nigeria from consumption to production. You can't move it without changing the system because the system is designed to consume. So that system that is designed to consume, by the time the rubber hits the road, you realize very quickly that you really can't change that system and that mindset without tweaking the system that is designed to preserve a consumptive culture rather than a productive one. So I really don't find any discrepancy or inconsistency in that position. I just believe that perhaps the opportunity hasn't presented itself for him to explain it, or perhaps it is not blessed with the gift of the gab like I am blessed. I'm able to explain my thoughts. He might not be as able to do so, but I believe the thoughts dovetails into each other, and because that's what I think really on the subject.
Now, let's take it a little bit further. Do you see anything from your encounter with him that gives you the confidence that he won't be just like any other politician? Because we have people like Babatunde Fashola, for instance, before he got it. No, these are people.
No,
You
you're
know
talking
them.
about Mr. Sergeant Aitofel.
Yeah, you know these people, and before they got in there, they were saying things they were going to do. Power supply is not nuclear science. You have people like El Rufai before he got in there to be governor of Kaduna State, saying that security thing is easy to handle. Is there anything you saw from Peter Obi or heard from him that gives you the confidence that if he gets there, he won't turn around and say, "Oh, I did not expect this. I didn't know this is how it is."
You see, we have to first of all understand something. Human beings are completely untrustworthy, including me, all of us. So at any point in time when you have to make a call, a judgment call on human character, all you really have are their records, if you have any. And in my earlier foray into the university, when I read English language and linguistics, I was taught that in dealing with characters, you look at what people say about the character, what the character says about himself, and then what the person does or ignores to do. So all I have on Peter Obi are his records in Anambra. Nobody has come forward to say that Peter Obi is a saint. And I'm not suggesting that he is. I can't speak to his sainthood. I'm not looking to vote for a pope. But when it comes to the subject of competence in governance, prudence in governance, responsibility to the electorate, frugality, for somebody to save state funds, especially in a space like Nigeria, it says something about the person's mindset. The only way I know to worship God is as a Christian. And there is a verse, in fact, a couple of verses in the Bible that tugs at my consciousness constantly. And it comes from Habakkuk, chapter 2, verses 2 to 3. It speaks to vision. And I know that one of the characters of vision is that it constrains. It constrains you. It would be presumptuous of me to presume. You know, when you become presumptuously presumptuous, to presume to speak to his finances, which I'm not in any way, shape, or form privy to. However, I need to draw your attention to something. If the man had done anything that other members of the Nigerian class, to which is an eminently qualified member, whether it is by reason of his economic capacity or by reason of his political affiliations, is eminently qualified. If he had done anything against the laws of Nigeria, I am sure that the gentlemen at EFCC and ICPC and what have you, we have multiplicities of political and prosecutorial agencies that would have ensured that he would not have dared to be making a presidential run, because I'm sure you will not suggest that he's a candidate of the system. When you had Mr. Rochas Okorocha, who was a candidate within the capacity of the system to muzzle, and they had sufficient basis to muzzle him, they didn't pull back to muzzle him. So I assure you that if Mr. Peter Obi had broken any laws, we're not, because you can begin to deal with issues of morality if you believe there is a moral question there. But when it comes to the issue of legality, I doubt that anyone can speak to the legality of what he has done, because if he had broken any laws, I assure you that the bail conditions that would have been slammed against him by the time the charges are brought would have been worse than the ones that you have ever seen brought against any terrorist. That he hasn't been charged or had any issues raised related to that should speak volume to you about the legality of the thing. I don't have that kind of money, so I don't need any Pandora. I don't need to go and hide money anywhere. I don't have an account outside of Nigeria. So if it's me, you can ask me. My Toroko boy is here in Nigeria. So
but as I don't know what your role entails, as spokesperson.
No, my role is as a spokesperson, but like as I have told you already, it is not my job to speak to things that should be in the exclusive preserve and knowledge of the principal. I can only speak to what I know. And it's not an affliction that arose today. It's been like that all my life. When I don't know, I'll tell you, I don't know. If I don't know and I've told you I don't know, you can't hold me that I have told you a lie now. But if I came to you and in my overzealousness to defend, quote and unquote, I now begin to concoct tales, what does that say about me? It destroys me as a person. Any lie, just one, destroys me.
Now, what do you think about his performance in front of the Arewa Consultative Forum? The questions he was asked and the answers he gave.
Well, I saw bits and pieces of that, and I then did read the reviews. Frankly, my take on it is twofold. First, I think his employers are meant to be the Nigerian people, even though the Arewa Consultative Forum is like a microcosm of the people that he's reaching out to. So I'm more concerned about how he might be able to communicate his intentions to the generality of the Nigerian people. However, I think before the Arewa House, he managed to put his case across, particularly as it relates to the capacities of the northern part of Nigeria to become an agricultural basket for the entirety of Nigeria and beyond. Because he spoke eloquently to the fact that Niger State alone has more land mass than a few European countries, sometimes even combined, including Holland for that matter. And Holland earns so much revenue from agricultural produce, whilst the northern part of Nigeria is incapable of even feeding itself, talk less of feeding the rest of Nigeria. The strength of the northern part is in its land mass, its arable land mass. But that has not been leveraged largely because of insecurity, bad planning at multiple levels, lack of access to the market, just general. I think there is something about us that appears to just want to impoverish the people, and nobody appears to be focused on creating value and wealth for them. So he spoke to that extensively, and I believe it was a well-received speech. Of course, there was the lie by the midget
Kaduna.
Of Kaduna, characteristically so, but that was easily debunked by videos that popped up of he himself giving testimony of how it was orders from Kaduna and from Abuja that had him caged up. So other than that, I think he did pretty okay. It was a pretty good outing as far as I can tell.
You just said today that you won't be taking any position. Should Peter?
No, I have no interest. Not whilst the 1999 Constitution subsists, except I am given an office designed to destroy the 1999 Constitution and which does not require me to swear to an oath to protect it. If it is for that specific narrow purpose, I'll be exceedingly happy and excited to take it on. But I am not interested in I'm not interested. I have no interest. If you see me take anything on, mark this, and I love this, call me a bastard. If you see me take on any ministerial nonsense, I'm not interested. As long as I have to swear on the 1999 Constitution, I, Oladele Tomilola Farotimi, will never accept it. Take it to the bank. I gave up more to become me than anyone can give me to take that on.
Let me play a clip of one of your colleagues.
Shoot.
And get your take on that and how the team works.
Please.
In his campaign, go and ask him again, and he will tell you that if there is anybody that his team has been extinguished completely, is that of Atiku Abubakar, who, of course, should have been disqualified by now by going to the north and making a genocidal statement that Northerners should vote for North only. This was what caused genocide in Rwanda. When Hutus were told that they should not support Tutsis because they are cockroaches, Atiku Abubakar went to the north and said Northerners should support only the people from the north, not Yoruba, not Igbo. That is ethnic profiling. That's genocidal statement. Atiku knows he has failed. What he's trying to do now is to make sure he destroys our democracy after he has failed. And he should be called to order. INEC should be implementing Section 97 of the Electoral Act now on Atiku, because that's a criminal offense, trying to profile ethnic and religious groups. So it is Atiku Abubakar that I've always said he is very unfit to be president, and not only that he's unfit, he is now a threat to our democracy.
Yeah,
I will tell you that those assertions are completely correct. He has used very strong words. Those are pretty strong words. I might not have used the same words, or I might have used words, depending on my mood at the point. The only thing that might be correct, in fact, I will be correct, that you can take to the bank, will be the veracity and truth of my statement, I will not be accountable for my language, because the issue is actually quite vexatious. When you have a man who has been the vice president of Nigeria, however unjust Nigeria might be, you imagine that such a man should have certain level of temperance, especially when it comes to his public statements. But Mr. Adimeru Atiku Abubakar went to Arewa House, and it was quite blatant in canvassing that the North should not vote for anyone who is not a Northerner. It was very, 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 very clear in denigrating the pains of those who have demanded that Nigeria should be restructured when he was talking about the separatists in the southern part of Nigeria. And he then compounded it by his assertion that the North should only vote for persons of northern origin. Now, you can only speak to genocide when the action has taken place. So I probably would not have picked the word genocide, but as in it has not happened. But the foundation and grounds for such heinous crimes are already being laid by the kind of languages that are being used in distinguishing between Nigerians by Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. So yes, the basis of the allegations are completely valid and truthful, and I stand by them on behalf of the campaign. I'm not going to disown them. He said those words. They are out in the open. They are not words that were spoken in a coven and whispered in the open. They were spoken. It's on video. And once you begin to divide people along ethnic lines, you are actually precipitating or likely to precipitate a crisis which might end in a genocide. That is not outside the realm of possibilities given our recent history as a people. So people might disagree with this, the severity of his tone or the harshness of the language, but the circumstances demand such forceful languages to be used so that persons begin to understand the gravity of the words that proceed from their mouths, especially when they've been entrusted with high offices, such as the vice presidency. As unjust and whatever Nigeria might be deemed to be, he was a breath removed from being the president of Nigeria, and is aspiring to be the president of Nigeria. How is that any different from the people, from the dot in the circle? How? It's the same thing. How is that different from deleting the tweet on the Deborah murder? How is it any different? So it speaks to a pattern. So when you hear Kenneth speaking as forcefully as he did, of course, he was recalling all these past incidences of the same man pandering to sectional, ethnic opinions and sentiments. So it's not out of place, and it is not beyond the pale. Those are valid allegations to make, and they are valid charges to lay on the table. They are borne out by the facts.